So this is TMUA question of the day, day 4 hints from stopmaths.com with Tobin Payne supplying the questions. Now, start off with an A-level plus question. So here we've got what looks like some trig, it could be some trig identities, but we've also told that alpha and beta are within a right angle triangle, which tells us that alpha and beta are both less than 90. Now, what I would say is a hint here is look for relationships between sine alpha, sine beta, or sine alpha, cos beta, etc. So if you label this triangle, and this is a very useful skill for A-level maths anyway, is kind of X, Y, Z. Think about what sine alpha would be, what sine beta would be, etc. And then you can start to get a feel of how many of those are different. Now, we do know that alpha is less than beta, so that means that we're not going to have a situation where it was an isosceles right angle triangle, so alpha is equal to beta, and that's going to be important as well. Our next question, which is our algebra and functions question. Now, this is question 25 from Senior Maths Challenges, and never easy, but this is a particularly nasty one. Now, at some point, you're going to probably end up looking at the solutions, and all I could say is I can't imagine many people would have gone the way of the solution in the time scale. And I feel like the solution is looking more as if you were trying to do a proof rather than an answer in a multiple choice question. What I would say is just trying to understand what they're saying here is part of the challenge. I would also say that the fact that P, Q, and R are integers is really going to be important, and P greater than 0. Now, think about trying numbers for X, substituting numbers in. So, obviously X equals 1 should satisfy, because it does say irrespective of the number of digits here of X. So this is the kind of question which you can form a Diophantine equation with. Try another value of x equals 11. You're probably not going to want to do anything bigger than 111 maximum, but hopefully you can get there without it. But what you'll find is you can relatively quickly see some values of q that just aren't going to be possible. And once you've got rid of some of those, you can take a bit of an intelligent guess. And of course, with TMUA, when you're really under the hammer with the time, sometimes if you can reduce it to 2 and then go a little bit with gut feeling, you've got at least, you've got 50-50 chance if you choose randomly. Hopefully a good gut feeling will make that slightly more in your favour. But interesting question, good choice by Tobin, but definitely not an easy one. This one, more circles, and as I've said in previous videos, the best thing you can do with a circle is take the center. In this case, the center of this semicircle is at O, and then draw in some radii. Think, what do we know about that? We are told that PS is length 4. Remember that, of course, all radii are equal. We can also look at splitting that chord in half. We know about angles between the chords. Angles when you split a chord in half. And then you also can start looking at the fact that the center of this semicircle must be there. And you've got then, obviously, radii are going to be here, here. That last one I just drawn isn't helpful, but these two are definitely going to be helpful. Always be looking out for triangles, like, ratios over your standard kind of GCSE ones with your 30, 60, 90 degree triangles, or your 45, 45, 90 degree triangles. This one, another one of these sort of overwhelm you with words questions. The best thing you can ever do with these questions is try and arrange it, and just make sure you're being very careful about which information you have and you haven't used yet. So if I was doing this, I like kind of just doing some dashes. I'm going to say this is right, this is left. Straight away, Molly is not sitting on the far right, so I know Molly is not there. Dolly is not sitting on the far left. Sally is not sitting. Okay, so good. Sally. Kelly is not sat next to Sally. Sally is not sitting next to Dolly, and Ellie is sitting to the right of Dolly. That means Dolly's got someone on her right, which means that Dolly can't be sat there. So I've used which bits of information now. We've used that one, so we can highlight that. That's done. Dolly is not sitting on file. I haven't used that yet. Sally's not sitting on either end. I've used that. Kelly is not, and Ellie is sitting to the right of Dolly. I've used that, but not fully. So it's just keeping on top of what information you have and haven't used. Clearly I'm down now to Kelly and Ellie, so then you've got to go back and look at some more. But anything like this, just be careful with how you record your information and you should be fine. Hope that was helpful. Feedback always welcome.